Yeah, I'm going to wait because as I say, I moved back. Like our internet is not great, so
Right.
that should be okay.
That's okay. You can see where we're popping up on live now. So we're live on Periscope around the world. We
Okay.
are live on Facebook now, and we're live on YouTube, and we
Wow.
are live on LinkedIn. In
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to Real Hospitality Live. Today, I am giddy like a little kid to talk to my guest who I had the fortune to meet this year in Toronto. And sometimes you meet somebody in your craft who is just above and beyond an artist, a master, and you can tell just in their conversation. My guest today comes from Lyon, France, has studied in culinary arts there, made a name for himself in the top restaurants in Canada, has been the chef and partner of the acclaimed Toronto restaurant Ici, named Canada's best new restaurant in 2011, has been featured in just about every magazine and newspaper in North America. My guest today, Jean-Pierre Challet. How are you, my friend?
Excellent. Thanks a lot. I'm so
Thank you
great.
so much for finding the time.
No, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
I know that everybody's in the mindset of getting the lights back on and turning the burners back on, have all kinds of plans that we're just waiting on local governments to give us the go ahead with.
Yeah.
And just before we came on, we were talking about you doing some opening events with Fifth in Toronto, and then working in Niagara with some other properties there.
Yeah.
But so what's going on in your region, and what are you involved in?
That's a good question. I mean, before maybe we talk about food and all those things, I want to mention something about food because it's very important for me. And since we have the COVID-19, I think around the world, I've been spending some time with the food bank, and I think it's important to talk about that before we talk about the food.
Sure.
Because in Toronto, like they double, and it's everywhere in the world, they double the needs that they have. And some people say that, Jagger told me, say we are wasting 53% of the food right now in the restaurant. Some people say 32%. I think between 30 and 50, we are at 40, but it's still a very high amount of food that we are wasting in the past, that we were wasted in the past. And also, they need volunteers. So in those difficult times, everywhere in the world, when we talk about the food, I would like to mention that if the people who listen, of people, or even I would like to challenge the people who can make decisions. I think the kids, when they are not in school, they could go to help the food bank. They will understand what is luxury. People who need food bank, it's families, it's kids who cannot have food, who don't have enough money to buy food. And also, I think in our curriculum, in hospitality, every people who go to hospitality management or cooking or whatever, I think should be part of their management, their curriculum, that they spend at least one day a month. That's not much. One day a month to go to help the food bank, to cook with a chef over there. Like there is no many chef who goes, but it's very sad. But I mean, there is people, family, like fathers, mothers, they go to help, they go to cook home food, and we cook together, and it's fantastic. And I think it should be part of the curriculum because they need volunteers, and there is many food banks, but they don't have enough volunteer. And of course, they have less and less supply now because twice the amount of people are asking for food. So I just want to mention that if I can help, because it's like really my heart. It's like each time I go there and I say, I brought 2 people who want to donate money, and they ask me, they say, well, to who should we give money? So I say, guys, come with me, and I will be cooking there, and come to see. And when they enter the kitchen, they say, wow, JP, we didn't right away understood, and they say, we didn't realize how much they need. So I just want to mention that before we talk about the food.
No, absolutely. And
very important to my heart.
I think we in the industry don't think of that as forefront as often as we should as part of our community. Our mutual friend David Durpak in Vancouver, when I worked with him at Vancouver Premier College, he did that, and I'm sure that he still does. He goes and does works in the food bank twice a week, and would bring groups of students, and he'd say, I need 20 volunteers. And as part of the school curriculum, he would bring people to help.
That's great, but it doesn't happen in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Like people can do that. That's fine. That's because, you know, as a chef in Toronto, we do most of the time, many of us, we do a second harvest once a year where all the chef cooks, and that's great because second harvest, it's a great asset in Toronto. But it's not enough. I mean, to do, like, you know, we go on Instagram. I mean, people put a nice plate on Instagram, but you know, we need to go to the food bank before we go to Instagram. I think so.
Well, that's a fantastic call to action, and I echo that with you as well. I mean, that's really where we need to be putting our time rather than spending it on Instagram in general.
Absolutely. And stop wasting. I mean, so many people, you know, actually at Rockways, that's where I'm starting a new team in the kitchen in Niagara. And they used to do a lot of buffet and tour bus. Right. And we stopped that completely because people on the buffets, as you know, most of the time they pile the plate and they eat only a third or half of the plate, and everything goes to the garbage. So I think the main things now, we have to stop wasting. You know,
I think that speaks to what some of the things that are changing too, and that we have to change. Buffet is a huge thing for food waste. As much as people love to go and have 72 things to choose from and put 50 of them on their plate, it's not conducive to food waste, and it's certainly not something that we're going to be able to do in the future anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a problem. Like you mentioned the fifth, but the fifth for the fifth, the biggest revenue for us is the events and the club. I mean, the restaurant, the fine dining, it's a small part of it. So definitely, if we cannot do an event, I mean, that's a big problem. That's definitely, yeah.
I was just speaking with a client of mine yesterday, and we were talking about huge catering companies that have now just shut down because we're not able to do that. But that's starting to look into the future as to how we're going to change as a dining culture too. We're not going to be able to have those large gatherings for quite a long time, and when we are, we're going to think about them a lot differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's a terrible crisis for our business, like for tourism, hospitality, all around the world. I mean, we are going to suffer, so we have to stay together. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you see our community culture in like a social distancing world? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I know your love for community, and I even saw a quote of yours. The reason why we continue to do this is our hunger for community. Yeah. And it really changes the angle that we look at things and the way that we feel about hospitality. If we feel like we can't gather and we can't socialize in the same way, there's not the same thing. But what do you see moving forward? What do you think we're going to be able to do? And
well, first of all, I mean, you know that I'm watching the news all the time around the world because I want to see what's happening around us. And I mean, I must say, in Europe, I mean, they start to, and they have been very, very deeply affected, like in Spain, in Italy, in France. So they are starting to reopen the restaurant, but they don't apply the 6 feet distance. They apply 3 feet distance. Okay. And so I think here, I mean, we are all, I understand that people are worried, they are scared not to get it. But I mean, we have to listen to what's happening, and all the specialists in the world who now, because the virus is going down, they are spending a lot more time to study what happened and what for the future. So they say, really, what is mandatory, it's to put a mask. When you go outside, it's to put a mask. Of course, in the restaurant, I mean, we'll have to apply the distance. Yeah. But the waiters, they wear a mask, and some restaurants, they already put their logo on the mask, and they change the mask all the time. Yeah. So but they were saying, they say, especially now they open the patio. So, I mean, I don't know if you saw in Paris, but the patio, everybody, I don't think, I mean, they have 3 feet between table, but people, they sit beside each other.
Anyway.
I mean, that's a restaurant, like that's like the people, they want to be together. So,
right.
I mean, so I guess a group of people who are living together, I guess, they can have the dinner together or the lunch together, whatever. But they made a 3 feet distance between every table. So they don't go to 6 feet. With 6
right.
feet, it's very difficult for the business. So 3 feet, it's already, some restaurants are struggling about that, but it's much better than 6 feet. So that's the first thing. I mean, now the specialists, the epidemiologists, like people who are making study now with the virus, they say there's no many chance that the virus will be on the table. I mean, we have to disinfect all the time, but
right.
I mean, they say, you know, really, you have more chance to get the virus if you are close to someone who has
right.
it. So that's why mask, it's important also. If you have the virus, I mean, if people have the virus, they should stay home anyway. They should not go out.
Right.
But that's things. But I mean, the social things, I mean, it's difficult in the restaurant. So they are going to clean every table. They are going to clean the menu all the time. They are going to, everything they touch. Some restaurants will have gloves. I mean, in Toronto, we are planning, like I'm already talking to some of the staff, and we are doing, wearing gloves, wearing a mask with a logo to make it fun. And, and the distance also, but I think 6 feet is a little bit too much between tables.
Yeah.
And so.
How do you see that functioning in the kitchen?
Well, that's a big problem, because I mean, all the time when I go to the food bank, when I cook, we put the mask, but it's terrible. I mean, first of all, we have to cook, to taste all the time.
Yeah.
Because even that I do big amount of food with them, and I mean, we taste the food. I don't want to give people something that I cannot eat.
Right.
So I taste the food all the time, and like where I go, it's a banquet hall. There is a new. We have a new location with Jagger. He has a new location with like 3 times the size. So it's a huge kitchen. But most of the restaurants, I mean, if you come at the 5th, anybody, they will see the kitchen. It's impossible to have the social distance. It's
right.
impossible. I mean, the kitchen at the 5th upstairs, it's the size of a bedroom or something like that. So,
yeah.
I mean, so it's, so some people in Niagara, like some, because I hire some people who are, little bit older, and you know, they're over 70 actually, and one of my cooks is in very good shape. He's 80, and he say, "Well, you know, I'm bored at home," and I say, so I hire him, but you know, he has a plastic shield in front of him, and he put his name, and he has his plastic shield. It's not as good as the mask, but I think the mask in the kitchen is going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
Because the heat. And me with my glasses, I have the fogs coming on the glass all the time.
Right.
And social distancing, it's going to be a problem in the kitchen. That I don't think we can avoid. But it's important not to touch each other. I think that's the key also. To watch our hands all the time. And all those things, we know how to do it. Like we know. We watch everything all the time. We watch our hands all the time. It goes through the dishwasher. The temperature, it's very high. So, and we all have the food handler certificate. We have the smart serve. So, like as some chef said in France, we already know how to deal with virus and bacteria, and you know, we change the cutting board. We sanitize the table, we sanitize the board, we sanitize ourselves all the time.
Right.
So we just have to be more and more and more acting on that. But I think the serious kitchen, I mean, we keep it clean. I mean, it's just like and we have inspector coming every 4 months. I mean, it's not enough, but I mean, we know how to maintain our kitchen clean. So, and you know, so. I mean, the main thing for me is the social distancing in the kitchen. Sometimes it's going to be difficult. As long as we don't touch each other, as long as we don't shake hands, as long as we clean our pots and trays all the time.
Right.
I think we should be okay.
And being vigilant about those things in all kitchens. I mean, I've been in a lot of kitchens that you wouldn't come back into if you walked into the first time, right? And
I know.
I think, and I've been saying this for the last few weeks, is that the state of our industry moving forward is really going to be based on what public perception is too. So when we are being vigilant about sanitizing tables and all of that, but we also talk about being, how we're taking, maybe we take a break in the middle of service and we sanitize and we let our guests know that we're doing that, and just give them a short spiel about how we're being very vigilant about keeping things clean and sanitized so that they're safe and our staff is safe. A lot of that comes into training, and I know that you developed the French culinary program at George Brown, and you've been teaching people, and you've been a mentor for many cooks and chefs. What do you think that we need to be looking at as far as training now and moving forward?
Well, I think again it starts with the produce. I think we have to stop bringing things from everywhere in the world, and we don't know. We have to be behind our farmers. We have to support them. That's very important. But that's why in Niagara, I'm going to do a menu very, like we say, we start in St. Catharines, then we go Niagara, then we go Ontario, then we go Canada. Like if we cannot find ourselves something for us in Canada, there is a big problem.
Right.
I think there is a big problem. So, because as you say, you go sometime in the kitchen or you go to the market, and the health, the sanitation, it's not great. And in Toronto, there is many places that I will say I will never go back there. As to buy a fish or to buy a meat or whatever. The way, as you say, and when I open the restaurant, it's because right now we are reopening. I'm reopening, helping 2-3 restaurants at the same time. And for me, the first things that customers are going to look at it's a washroom. I want the customer, when they go to a washroom, to be spotless, to smell good, because that's show how the restaurant care about the customer, because that's a sign of cleanness. So that's the first thing. The produce, we have to know where they come from. And, I was thinking today, and I didn't know, I learned a few months ago because I was listening to TV5 in Switzerland. Since 30 years, they have the laws in Switzerland that no chicken can be raised in a battery, has to be outside. So all the chickens they have in Switzerland, it's free-range chicken. There is no eggs in Switzerland who doesn't come from a free-range chicken.
Right.
And by mistake, well, not by mistake, but I was watching another show 2 days ago, and they have batteries of chicken where there is 40,000 chicken in one room. They're all on top of each other. Then when it's time to go to kill them, so they have a special machine that they have no choice. So they go to this belt, to the case, and so the journalist asked him, he said, how many chicken do you put in the cases? He said, 30 chicken. And you should see the cases. They push the cases. Sometimes they cut the chicken neck. Yeah. And it's unacceptable. In the world, it's unacceptable. If the politics and if the government don't change, those big farms who don't care about animals, like we are in big trouble. So we have to, like me, it's been since long time, but for myself, I always buy bio, organic most of the time, at least natural, even in the winery. Right now in Niagara, the winery, sometimes they don't have the label of organic, but they do natural. They put way less and less pesticide. Right. And the sad thing, I was last year, I was 10 days in Sicily. And when we arrived, like Canadian, we are welcome everywhere in the world. We have probably one of the best people, like everybody welcome us everywhere in the world. Everybody in the world loves Canadian. That's no doubt about that. But in Sicily, when I arrived in Sicily and they realized I was a chef, and they say, well, you know, we don't like your flour. And for many years, they made a deal, Sicily and Canada, and Sicilians could not use their own flour. They had to use our flour. And we know it's modified because our wheat has to survive the winter and all those things. So
Right.
we have to admit our flour, it's far worse than any flour in Europe, or especially in Sicily.
I've had
So,
that firsthand.
yeah, and I was listening. I watched something about lentils, and Saskatoon, and we are the biggest producer of mustard in the world. All the mustard,
It's
like
Saskatchewan.
Dijon mustard, comes from Canada. You know, sometimes it's made in Dijon, but not all the time. But the lentils. So I was listening to the farmers, like they have 100 acres of lentil that they don't eat. It's not for us, it's for the export.
Yeah.
Okay? But they put so much pesticide on the lentils that in Europe, they had to change the law to allow lentils from Canada to enter Europe because, you know, they have the glyphosate or glyphosate or whatever, like from Monsanto.
Yeah.
So that in Europe, it has to be very, very low.
Right.
So, but to do a deal with Canada, they changed the law to have 2.1, I don't know what is a measure. So we are filling the world with pesticide. And that's what we have to change. We have to change that. Like we have to go more natural. I'm not saying organic. Organic, it's very difficult sometimes for the farmer. I mean, I'm glad that many people, they do it. But as long as we reduce the pesticides and we stay natural, it's already will be a big step for the industry to make our customer aware. Like, you know, when I do pastry, I want to have, I don't want to have eggs coming from a chicken who eat his shit every day.
Right.
You know, and that's not good. So that's what I think we have to be very, very picky for the produce. And we have to start to pay a little bit more. I don't think it's a huge amount, but we have to look at the produce. That's, I think, for me, to be safe. You know.
That goes to my next comment. We have to pay a little bit more, and therefore we get a better product, and farmers can survive. But we also have to start charging a little bit more, because we're in an industry where our margins are so thin that even before COVID, restaurants were not having a good time.
No.
Right. And I said this to a client yesterday. I said, unfortunately, this is going to be the great flood where people who were in rickety boats before, they're not coming out of this.
No.
Right. And we have to look at things like quality and food cost and all of that. We have to be not afraid to put the price up. This whole race to the bottom thing for pricing is kick the shit out of our industry. And put us in a position where we don't have stable businesses.
Yeah, I mean, in BC, like as Toronto, we are in the worst situation, and I'm supposed to have a meeting with an investor want to see me next week, and I mean, I have so many lawyers and investors, and banker, and they came to me and they say, JP, can we do things together? And I said, guys, stay out of this business. Don't go in this business. And unless, you know, we do together, and I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I had a lawyer who want to do it with me. And when I told him, I said, at the best, you will have 10% return on your investment. At the best.
Right.
You know, but really, and 10% it's high right now. But he looked at me and he said, are you serious? And I said, please. Like, don't go in this business. Don't go. But the thing is, you know, now we are paying, like in Toronto, because as in BC, it's so expensive, the rent. That's the main thing.
Outrageous.
It's not the produce, it's the rent. So the landlord, it's so expensive that, so now the people, they don't make the budget. And so they open it, so it's okay, you know, $20,000 amount. And like in downtown, some people pay 50 and 100,000 a month. And they say, well, it's okay, we are going to do the number and everything. And but they don't make the budget. That's the first key. So what's happening? They ask the people, they ask the staff to work more, to get paid less. They buy everything already prepared because they are cutting the staff, because they cannot have so many staff for so many customers. So they cut the staff, everything come already prepared, and it's shit. I mean, and they charge big bucks for things that they pay. You know, when I opened my restaurant, I mean, my rent was very low. I paid $3,000 a month, and everybody laughed at me. I had this 25 seats restaurant. They laugh at me. They said, JP, you will never make it. So I did a budget. My budget's 25 people every night, 4 nights a week. And I want them to spend $50 per person. That was the worst scenario. I ended up to do 50 people a night, and they spent $75 a night. I was laughing. And I was paying my supplier every week. They will deliver 1 week, the next week they will have a check. Now those big companies who have big rent to pay, they are cutting the staff, they are cutting their salary. They pay supplier in 120 days. And I many suppliers, they told me, like, we know who they are, but they are big shots, and they don't pay their supplier, and they make their staff working more. And some people abuse the customer, because me and my restaurant, I was charging for the wine. I was putting $25 on every bottle of wine as a corkage. But you have some restaurants, they will do times 4, times 5.
Right.
For the wine. And after they say, well, why nobody buy wine? I say, why? Like me, when I go, I know the price, so I'm not stupid. But people now, they go on the internet, they say, how much costs this bottle of wine? And they know. Our customers are not stupid.
You're charging $400 for a $90 bottle of wine, and people get disgusted.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this is, that's why the rent, it's a key. And I don't know if it's going to change. Look at the government offers some break to the landlord, and they offer, but not many landlord took the advantage, because they still will have to be 25% from their pocket. Right. So I mean, it's a big issue, and I mean, because for me, rent is the biggest problem. And my partner, she's working in a big travel agency, and they are paying like 6 million. They were saying they were paying 6. They have many floors of, and they say, well, we are paying 6 million rent, but they say suddenly everybody's working at home and it's working perfectly. So why do we need to pay all those floors? So I hope the bad landlord who abuse the economy, because it's abusing the economy, they're abusing everybody. And I mean, those landlords, I mean, so soon they won't have anybody renting their office, and they will have nobody renting the restaurant, because it's impossible. As you say, I mean, my rent was so cheap and I was so happy. Right. I mean, I sold it not because I was not making it, just because my dad passed away and I want to take a break. But now I say, geez, now for me to find the same place at the same price, it's impossible. Yeah, absolutely. So, and I prefer to say no. I say, what is the point to open a business if you don't make money? There is this bigger, because as you know, the culture also, the artists are in trouble, like the cinema, the movie, the theater. So one artist was saying in France, he said, you know, with the social distancing, the theater cannot reopen because they will lose 2,000 euros every day if they open. Right. He said, why should they reopen? They can't. So if the rent don't go down, and if we still have to do the social distancing until we have the vaccine or medicine, everybody will lose money. Yeah. What's the point to open the restaurant or anything if we lose money?
I think even right now, as people are opening, we're not going to see the full extent of how bad things really are until September. Mm-hmm. And the people who are barely hanging on or getting government subsidy, who are still have some hope and they're going to make some summer money and they're opening their patios. I think there will be a percentage of people who hang on till September, but I think landlords in general are going to see really how bad things are in September. And I think in my opinion, this is based on just on my opinion and experience, I think we're going to see numbers like 50% of our industry just go,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
not doing it.
At least. And, but the problem, I mean, and I agree with you, we have to charge more. But what about if people cannot pay more? That's a problem. Because, again, I remember, when I arrived in Canada, it was like, this year is going to be 36 years since I am in Canada. When I arrived in Canada, my rent was $400 a month, and my salary was $500 a week. I was laughing. When I arrived, because I was in France, an apprentice, I was getting paid peanuts and kicked in the ass all the time. But I come here in Canada, and I remember it was Hôtel La Montagne in Montreal, $10 an hour. I was a chef de partie, and I say, $10 an hour? I was like, wow. I was living in the best building in Montreal, brand new building, swimming pool, squash. I was like me, little Frenchie. I was like, wow, that's American. But now, who rent an apartment for less? Like now, my son, he has to pay 2 weeks of salary. Will pay his rent at the best. Right. Some people will go to 2.5 weeks. So that's why I'm saying, like, if we cannot pay, how can we charge if we cannot pay? So if people cannot pay, they won't come to the restaurant, and they will go again to fast food. It's not to criticize the fast food. I have a friend, a journalist, one day in Montreal. They asked him to work. He went to work. He's a chef. Nobody knew him, and he's a journalist. He went to work for KFC, and he made a big article on it. There was a big thing in Montreal. But he said, I cannot criticize the people who go to KFC because some people they cannot go to restaurant.
Right.
So they go to fast food and they eat whatever they can afford. So that's a problem, in our industry. Yes, we have to charge more, but if we have less people who are able to come to eat in a restaurant, and me, as you said, I mean, I was not expensive. I mean, like $75, everything included. It's not a big thing at the time. But I mean, from people now, I mean, sometimes I'm going to think about it because the rent is so high.
But do you think that at $75, if you put it to $85, would that deter people?
I don't think so. And I don't think so. I don't think. I mean, I have a big follow of my guests. They follow me everywhere because they know I never overcharge, and I always respect my staff, and I always respect the produce, and so but I don't want to be big. That's a problem also. I mean, we talk about rent, but there is those big companies. They bought so many restaurants, and now they're in deep shit. That's for sure, because they say, well, we have so many rents to pay. Well, guys, I mean, you made that your decision. You have to want so many restaurants, and you thought that you are going to make so much money.
Right.
But in France, we had I like Alain Passard in Paris with the 3-star Michelin, and so many of those 3-star chefs, because they are so famous and they make so much money as consulting around the world. So everybody open restaurant for them. They don't have to spend 1 cent. They put the team and everything. But they went to Alain Passard and they say, why you don't have many restaurants? He say, how could I have another restaurant? My guess, they will never know where I am. And it's the same thing for me at EC. I had my bakery and I had my restaurant, and I was happy with that. Because if the people who came at EC, okay, they came in the restaurant, but they came to see me. Right. What's the point if I'm not in the restaurant? What's the point if I'm not cooking? That's what I say. I'm always cooking. I never stop cooking. So all those people who have so many restaurants, they think that, and they think it's okay. And I don't think it's okay, because many of those, again.
I think you make an excellent point in regards to small restaurants in general, because I think what happens is restaurateurs open up and they get started in the restaurant, and their clientele starts to come in and they get to know them, and then they go off to start something else, and because they think that they've made this success. But what they've done is they've taken they've taken that relationship for granted. that they started with their clientele and figured that people are just going to come in for the food, but they're coming in for the relationship, and they're coming
Absolutely.
in, they'll come and they'll buy from you. I tell this to restaurateurs and franchisees all the time. I say, do you know who your clients are?
Yeah.
Well, no. Who's that guy? What's that guy's name? He's been here 4 times this week. You don't know?
Yeah.
No. Well, why not?
Yeah.
You're disconnected.
Yeah.
So always where your restaurant is no matter if it's a franchise, a bar, you're still a part of that community and part of that neighborhood. And that community and that neighborhood will support you if they know who you are and you get to know them, regardless of where you come from.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are right, because, you asked me, you say, what about 85 instead of 75? At $75, I was making money. I had, we were open only 4 nights a week. My staff, they had 2.5 days off, and we were okay. It just, I need a break in my life. I need to, but if now people for the same picture, they pay me 85, I will be laughing. I don't need to
Sure.
plus we do catering, outside catering. I can be a guest chef sometime, and that's okay. I let each time I took vacation, I closed the restaurant, and my staff was in vacation too. But sometimes I was not at the restaurant, and I would tell the people who want to come, I say, okay, you have the reservation, but tonight I'm not in the restaurant. I'm doing something outside. Right. And I will let them know before, because if they want to change the reservation and come when I am at the restaurant, I will be happy for them to change the reservation. And that's what respect all the time. That's what I keep the people that I hire. I say, first of all, you have to respect everybody in the kitchen and in the front of the house. We have to work together. Then you have to respect the supplier. You have to respect every delivery man who comes to the door. Give him something to drink, give him something to eat if they need it, if they ask for. Okay. Then after, respect your customer, respect your guests. Like, as we say, and as you know, people are not stupid anymore. Like people before, they didn't know much about the food. So, but now with all the people travel around the world, or travel around the province or in Canada, and they know, like, there are so many things, different things. You go to Maritime, you have a different kind of food. You go to Quebec, it's another thing. You go to Winnipeg, it's another thing. You go to BC. That's what I was amazed when I went a few days to teach at Vancouver. I was amazed. They took me out in the restaurants like three times. I was amazed about the quality of the food, the creativity also for local food. I was amazed with the service. And we talk about personality. We went to the restaurant, I don't remember the name, but we were waiting for a table at the bar, but the bartender was so great. So we said to the host, I said, no, we are going to stay in the bar. We don't want a table, because the bartender was so passionate about the cocktail and all those things. Like, I need the people, if you work in the restaurant, you have to care and you have to be passionate. You have to care. That's the main thing. And I keep saying, when I interview, I say, we don't need people who don't care. We don't need people who are not passionate. They can do something else. That's fine. I mean, we respect that, because, as you know, it's so difficult in our industry. But I love it. I never stop loving it since the first day I went in. Okay, I'm lucky, because, I mean, when I talk about what I did, I was lucky. But I work hard also for that. I mean, but I never lost my passion. I never lost caring about the food. And actually, I got better with my staff. I spent 3 years of my life I spent in the Caribbean, working what we call at the time the third world country, which is nothing. It's absolutely not a third world country. They are so smart, but sometimes they don't have the education. Right. And for me, the experience changed my mind completely. I mean, we're talking about local products. I mean, you go to, I was in St. Lucia and I was in Barbados. I mean, you have chicken running everywhere. You have mango everywhere. You have fish everywhere. They go, you want food, you go fish. You want drink, you have rum. Like, what do you need in life? And they say,
what else do you need?
Yeah. And I was there a long time ago. And at the time, we have one TV, one channel from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, and that's it. And the rest of the time, enjoy yourself, go outside, And I had a team. I had 40 people in my kitchen. They were like 3/4 of them were women. They were fantastic. They were exceptional. All of them were exceptional. So that changed also my mind, like, the way we treat the staff. Like, again, it's a long time, because I had this thing like in France, like we had to yell, and we had to insult, and we have to make a statement that, you are not good enough, and keep, So after I stopped that completely, and I say, what do I want to die like an asshole and screaming all the time, insulting people all the time? That I changed my mind completely.
Yeah.
Because I was used to this kitchen where always like, it's always a challenge, and it's always people are fighting for their jobs. They are fighting for everything. It's just like,
I went through the same thing where for years it was almost have to be militarized in the kitchen, and it was always, growl, growl, yell, growl, growl. And I then worked with a kitchen. I went to the front of the house, and I worked with a kitchen that there was a wonderful man. This was on Granville Island, actually, just where the school is in Vancouver. This wonderful Frenchman, RHL, had these 8 or 10 Indian ladies working in the kitchen, and they were putting out volume, like lots of volume out of this restaurant. And they would sing Disney songs. In Indian accent, and it was, and you never there. It was the happiest place on earth, the whole time. And nobody was ever upset if you misfired something, or if somebody made a mistake. It wasn't the end of the world. Nobody was going to throw something heavy or hot at you. And the RHL managed that kitchen just like a saint.
Yeah. And it's funny, because I go back to the food bank, and when you go cooking in the food bank, nobody, like, there is few people. There is few, sometimes some professionals come, but there is really few of them, really not enough. But that's what the team in the kitchen, they are not professional, but the way they cook, like, they are all happy because they are participate to something, they are singing, there is music, they are talking to each other, and you're absolutely right. And but when I was at George Palm to a part-time teacher, I say there is no bad students, there is only bad teachers. Because there is few students who really don't care, who really don't want to be there, but they have to be there. But there is a minimum of those, a minimum. And the other one, I mean, not everybody is talented. Not everybody can be a super hero or in the kitchen. So we have to have everyone, because we need everyone in the kitchen. So, that's what I said to the chef. Now, when I put a team together, I hire a chef and the sous chef. I always hire the chef first and the sous chef. And I tell them, I say, if you have, like, as I say, in my kitchen now, I have a man, he's 80 years old, and he's in great shape, and he say, I'm getting bored, I want to cook. I say, please, because, come in my kitchen. I mean, I'm happy to. But I told the chef, I say, if people take a little bit longer to understand, that is okay. Some people will understand fast, some people will understand slower. So take your time. It's your job as a chef. You have a team, and especially, I mean, definitely now we are going to have, unfortunately, many people looking for a job. Right. But as you know, before the COVID in Toronto or BC, it's always been a nightmare to find some staff. Yeah. But as I say, there is no bad student. We have to teach properly. We have to give the knowledge, like something in a pastry here. I have a lady. I told her, I say, I need you to come with 3 desserts that we can put on the plate. And I say, if you need help, I will share anything I know. I will share it with you. If you need my help, I will do it. I will. But I mean, because people, they care. There is many good cooks, and sometimes they are not leaders. Sometimes they are followers, and we have to accept that. Not everybody can be a leaders, and we have to help people. I'm always. That's why every kitchen I hire, I told the chef, I say, I don't want to hire a sous chef, like you are the sous chef, chef de partie, and I hire the apprentice, and I say, even the dishwasher, like I have a dishwasher now, is working in the kitchen. I say, when the dishwasher asks you to be a line cook, then we promote him as a line cook.
Yeah.
You will like him. He's doing very well. When he's ready to move up, we move up, and we hire another dishwasher. And when the chef de partie, if the sous chef leave and go to another restaurant, we promote the chef de partie to sous chef. Then one day we promote the cook as a chef de partie. That's the way to do it, because we have to not to push them, but let them know, like, if they want to get better and better, we will help them. It's our job. It's our job.
Absolutely. When you have somebody who is passionate and interested in learning, take that, bring that person in and tell them the stories of the food, teach them, work with them. It's I've never understood the blockade of no, not you, no, not you. We're gonna keep you in your place. You must stay here and do that job and only that job. If people are interested in learning more, then by all means, take that opportunity to teach them, because you never know what that person's going to become or what that person's capable of until you work with them.
I always say, since a long time, I mean, I said nobody in Toronto is going to teach me how to cook, but I'm talking about cooking. I'm talking about the chemistry of cooking. I learn, and like nobody, but I can learn so much about all the people who work in my kitchen. I mean, I cannot see everything, and I don't know all the products. I mean, my first sous chef, when I was up north in Manitou in Ontario, my first sous chef was from New Zealand, but his parents was Indian, and now he's a chef de cuisine at Robuchon in New York. But this guy, I mean, he taught me how to do chutney. And I had a dishwasher. His parents he was Chinese. His parents had a restaurant in Toronto. He taught me how to do dim sum. Like we always have to learn. That's why we have to travel and listen and watch the show about food when you are passionate, because there are so many things to learn. Like, again, like the eggs in Switzerland, or chicken, I didn't know. Like the lentil in Saskatoon, I didn't know. And like we have to know how the people. That's why we have to be behind our farmers and our supplier to support them and to know where it comes from and cook better in a way.
In doing that, I think we better not only better our team, but we better our foundation and we better our restaurants. And then in turn, we better ourselves for times like we're going through now, where we have to pivot and we have to think, okay, what do we have to work with? Are we still willing to learn? Mm-hmm. What things do we need to change to move forward?
Yeah. But I mean, I think the problem, because I know your question always between France and Canada. I mean, if we compare the school, I think the curriculum here, it's too loaded. Like we put French cuisine and Italian cuisine and Indian cuisine and Chinese cuisine and Korean cuisine. Like people I know, it's not their fault, but people, they do brioche once in their curriculum, and we know it's not enough. No. They don't have time to, there's so many information coming in their head, and they want to do so well, and they want to be so famous, and even we were talking about the rent, how many students focus on the budget and accounting and recipe, like how much will cost you the recipe. I mean, I hire a chef here, he asked me, he said, well, JP, he said, can you help me after for the food cost and everything? And he's excellent. It's not, I'm happy with my choice, but I'm going to have to be behind him to help him for the food costs and labor costs, how to control, how to balance the things. It's a big deal, and especially now that it's so expensive. That's why so many people, it's not that they fail, but mainly I think they don't do their budget.
Right.
Because for me, and there is a restaurant who is open only at night, and he said, JP, can you come and we are doing nothing during the day. Can you use it? I say, yeah, I probably can do some downtown catering, and I probably maybe can do a little baking I say, you know what? I say, listen, I say, I will never pay more than 10% for rent, never. So I say, everything I sell, I give 10%, and you say, okay, that's fine, that's great for me. So, that kind of deal. I don't have to, everything I sell, I say, you have your POS, it's your machine, you will see everything I put inside. 10% of what I sell, it's for you. And the guy was happy. He said, because I know if we go, like when I was at DC, my rent was like 5% or less. So I was laughing. That's why people, they look at me, they say, you are not going to make it. I say, guys, I always pay my staff. I always pay my supplier. And I said, don't, you think I won't make it? Or I said, well, yeah. And believe me, at the time, I made a budget that I could stay 6 months without one customer and still pay the rent. That's what I had in the bank, And I said, well, and I, pay my expense and everything. So I was way prepared.
But that comes down to where people are right now. That's the situation that business owners are in right now. Is they've never been in a spot where they could go for 2 months if something bad happened. They don't have any money in the bank, and they don't know what their numbers are. They don't know what their budget is. They're not doing portioning. They're not putting systems in place, and many of them don't even know what the hell that means.
Yeah. But that's why we go back to the waste. And I think we don't teach enough the students how to use everything, and and that's it. I mean, it's just like, because believe me, and that's what I keep everybody that I hire, and for everything I tell them, I say, please run the kitchen or run your front of the house like if it was your restaurant, I say, I make mistake. And when I break something and when I waste something, it's painful for me because I know I have to pay for. So I try to do, but I still make mistake, of course. I mean, absolutely. And people know, my guests, they know when I make mistakes, they don't, nobody pay for my mistake. So if I make a mistake, I start again. But it costs me.
I think that people, is food cost in the kitchen too. When you talk about waste, we have to be conscious about what we're wasting, but we also have to be conscious about not being afraid to say, I screwed this up.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
taking it as a training opportunity, right?
Absolutely. We have to be honest for that. Absolutely. I say, sorry.
Then you never really know what your waste is until it's too late.
Yeah.
If somebody
absolutely.
says, I burned this, or I did this wrong, or I'm not quite sure if I've done this right, can you maybe show me one more time, or can I get more practice on this one thing? Which I think has to be part of our culture too.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about education, it's not just education still in a culinary institution. We have to continue that education in the kitchen.
Yeah, and not be mad, with the staff. I mean, if one of my staff make a mistake, I will say, okay, let's do it again and start again. Of course, if the guy make 6 times the same mistake and you can see he doesn't care, that's another story.
Right.
But there is always people, they don't, like when you have a good team, it will happen that they make mistake, or they can forget. Like, today we were doing sliders, so I went to test one, and I said, that's great, but it's missing salt and pepper. He didn't have salt and pepper beside him on the barbecue. So,
right.
And there's no point to be bad. It's okay, just you need salt and pepper. That's it. I mean, just organize yourself, and that's it. But because he didn't test, it's just like and so many kitchen, as like so many people, they go in this industry and you have to test all the time.
Oh yeah.
There is no other choice. That's why, my menu, it's always things that I like. But and I like many things, and I like many different cuisine. But there is some products that I don't like, so I won't be able to judge because I don't like it.
Right.
So
you can't say, well, that's good to me because I don't like it.
Yeah. But that was the other things that I tell my staff also. I say, I look at every plate and I ask yourself, will you pay for and will you eat it? And if the answer it's, well, I'm not sure, then start again. I want a straight answer. Yes, I will eat this food, and yes, I will pay for.
Right.
That's my main things.
Well, and that's the key to success, right?
Well, I
People
think so.
people put things on the menu that they're like, oh, well, some people will like that. Well, then if only some people will like that, then why is it there?
Yeah.
Right. And if it's not in your top 10, why is it there? There's no point in having 100-item menu that you only do 10 things decent.
Absolutely.
Right. Because otherwise that stuff's just going to sit in the fridge.
Yeah,
we do have a question, and Robbie, are we getting questions on LinkedIn there too? Comments? Okay. JJ Frazier, who's who we met in Toronto actually together, who was my friend who had the vinegar, believe it or not.
I loved it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Beautiful product.
Yeah.
JJ's comment is, I think shields in kitchens are likely a better solution than masks, but do you think shields provide the same level of protection for everyone?
Well, we know the answer. It's no.
Right.
We know it's not. I mean, the mask, it's the best solution. But in the kitchen, honestly, I don't know how we can do because we are. I mean, each time I go to the food banks, that's what we wear, mask. We don't have shield. Right. So, and I have my glasses, but I always move my mask constantly. Yeah. And we have to change, but.
We do the best we can, I mean, at this point, I did a show last week and I was talking and I said, I'd just gone and gotten a haircut and the barber made me put a mask on. And I said, well, how are you going to do that? And he goes, oh, it's okay. I'll work around it. So then he worked around it and then he had to do my beard and he took my mask off to do my beard. And he's this close to my face doing my beard. And I thought, what the hell was the point of me wearing that for the last half an hour while you did my hair if you're just going to stick your face in my face? Just don't even waste the mask.
Yeah,
so, but.
I mean, the important, I know we are in a very strange situation. I mean, definitely, like many people, like many eye doctors, they think that the virus is going to die. It could come back. They don't say that it's not going to come back, but they say it's going to die slowly, maybe faster. But they say the test, after we have to test people who have the symptom, they should stay home. Any staff who have the symptoms, they should stay home. And we have to test people. And that's the thing, when they test, if they are positive, they have to stay in quarantine and get but in the kitchen, as I say, it's difficult, the social distancing, but we know how to keep it clean. We have all the tools to keep it clean. So if we do an extra step or many extra steps and to make sure like everything is clean, then I think our customers should be safe.
Absolutely. And for us to put ourselves in that position, and we also need a little help as an industry, I would say, when we talk about having health inspectors come by to places that aren't necessarily keeping on top of those things. I know that in Vancouver, I know health inspectors personally who have 200 restaurants on their docket who they don't get to once a year.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, you are so right about that. And when because we have to do our food handler certificate every 4 years, I think, or something. So we all 4 or 5 years in Toronto, I don't remember exactly. So I did it not long ago. I renewed it not long ago. And I asked the guy, I say, but how many restaurants do you have in Toronto? How many of you, like when you look at the number, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But depends the inspector. When I had EC, all the inspector, I don't know, but they check every corner. And like if I had a tile broken, I had to replace the tile. And like they were so picky. And sometimes I go to some area at the market and I say, "What? It's so fucking dirty." And I say, like, why? Like what? Like, I mean, my inspector, all of them who came, and I'm okay with that. Like, I want them to say, okay, that's not good enough. Like, but sometimes you go to places and say, how did they pass? How did they pass?
Right.
And sometimes it's like.
Up until now, I think that's going to change too, because public pressure is going to be huge to make sure that places are inspected and sorted out. I don't think places should be allowed to reopen until they've been re-inspected, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think that would put a lot of confidence back in the public.
I agree.
But the other thing is when you talk about standards across the board, from your place to the marketplace, you can go into 5 different restaurants and see a different standard of clean and sanitation. On the same street.
That's
We
what
really,
I go back to the washroom. I mean, that's for me the key. And open kitchen. I mean, that's why. I mean, I was so happy. I'm so happy with open kitchen. And actually, I was in Montreal, and it was one of the first open kitchen in Canada on Park Avenue. But I loved it because you have no choice. When you're open kitchen, people look at you, and they come to the counter, they speak to you,
right?
And
they look over and see what's going on.
They can see. See. And for me, that's the best. I would love to have open kitchen all the time. That's for sure.
Well, it certainly it's fun. It becomes it's part of the show, but it also holds everybody accountable as well, because they know you have to be on your A game no matter what, because that guest is sitting there watching. So, and the other thing I think that people don't necessarily understand is when we, like you talked about having, when the delivery guy comes, that delivery guy comes into a place and he goes, wow, it's either awesome or it's not. And if it's not, he's not coming back with his wife. He's also going to tell everybody that he knows. Absolutely. And that we don't put that into perspective. Restaurateurs don't think about that when these people are coming in the back door, because those people are going to go and do this and tell everybody. That's bad publicity.
Well, people talk. And one day I had a fight with my partner because I say, Canadians, they never complain. And that's a problem. I want the people to complain. Because if you're not happy, say it. If it's wrong, say it. When I go to a restaurant with people and they ask my opinion, and sometimes, like my kids, when they were younger, they knew when I start to be unhappy, they will go out and say, okay, Dad, I wait for you outside, because they know I'm going to text the manager and I'm going to tell them what I think about the place and the food. Because, that's why we have to stop abusing the guest. And too many restaurants, they are complaining that, there is always a reason. I mean, there is always a reason. If something is not working, there is a reason somewhere. Sometimes, I'm not saying that it's always a chef. I'm not saying that's always a waiter. I'm not saying could be the owner who don't care, who doesn't want to put the things. But I had the luxury 3 times in my life, maybe 3 or maybe more, I don't remember. But I worked hard, because for me, when somebody abused a guest or abused a staff, I worked hard. And I didn't expect my team to follow me, because, as I say, I had the luxury financially to work hard and say, guys, you don't do it properly. Bye-bye. You don't need me.
Right.
Because it's unacceptable. And that's why I say we have to complain. The guests, they have to complain. If they don't like something, we are not going to put name nowhere, but there are some restaurants that I will never go back because they don't want to be, they don't want to change.
Right.
Like sometimes I say, well, can I have this ice cream and this ice cream together? And they say no. And I say, okay, well, I'm going to buy 2 plates, 1 of each, and I'm going to put them together because I need to share with my guests. I need to share, But some people are so stubborn, and it's not service. For me, it's not hospitality. So that's why.
I think if people get so stuck in their regiment that they're not willing to say, sure, why not? There's no reason why we can't do that for you. Then they've lost the point.
I want the guests and the people who listen to you and to understand, like, if they are not happy, if they think it's wrong, they have to say it. Right.
If somebody came to your home and said, hey, you say, well, I have vanilla and strawberry. You say, can I get them together? They're not going to say no. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Why would we do that why would we do that in a business where we're expecting to get paid for this experience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
JP, thank you so much for your time today.
It's my pleasure.
Anytime. And
anytime.
I love talking hospitality with you. I love talking food with you. It's just an absolute pleasure.
I'm sorry we didn't have time to talk about food and wine pairing, but
you know what? Friend, we'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Because wine and food pairing is very important. As I say, it's easier to destroy the wine with the food than the food with the wine, because the wine is so delicate. And like here in Niagara, and you in BC, in Okanagan, the same thing, like everywhere, like again, or the winemaker, and they put so much passion in it that if we do destroy their work, it's very sad. It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
I think that the education isn't there. That's the part of it. And we can continue for a few more minutes about this now that we're on it. I'm excited. I don't think the education is there. I think that the people who are making the food, chefs and cooks, are not knowledgeable in those characteristics of wines. They're not taught it, and they're certainly not taught it in a culinary setting.
Yeah, for me, it was a big lesson, another big lesson in my life, because as Frenchies, I say, all Frenchies assume that they know about wine. And when I start my sommelier class, I say, holy shit, where I am. I never say that to anybody. You are the first person that I say, but few times I thought to quit because it was so difficult. Because I was working and I had to study so many things and the tasting and everything. And I say, how I'm going to pass these things? Like, it's so difficult. And that's why I'm amazed at sommelier. Like, that's why I always respect, like, when the team is together, I sit down with all the team, front of the house, back of the house, and I say, I want the front of the house, their or success. If they are not successful, we are in trouble. That for me is the service. So anything, and I tell the kitchen, anything they want, we will do it with pleasure. And they don't have to come to ask us in the kitchen unless we don't have the produce, but we will do with pleasure, and we will do it right away. If a waiter comes in the kitchen and say, I need that now, then I say, you do it now, because they know that they need it now. Right. And sometimes they can have a difficult customer, and so they know what is the priority. I say, never question the front of the house. You do whatever they ask, and after, if there's a problem, we talk it after the service. But the wine, and many, as you know, many of our guests now, they have cellar at home, and they enjoy the wine, and they read more about the wine. So they are not stupid. I mean, it's just like, but for me, it's so, like, I'm a sommelier, but I'm not a greater sommelier. Because why? Because they have so much memory. I have memory of the food flavor. Like, you can, I'm not saying any food, but I mean, my memories of food smell, I think it's pretty deep. But wine, like when they have to remember, oh, this one is from 82. And that's I mean, sometimes I do recognize, we have way to recognize, but I don't have the memory that the best sommelier will have. Like, it's like, and on top of that, ladies, not only they have more memories, but also they have more taste buds than the men. So that's why for a long time in France, in Europe, like the sommelier, we have some of the best sommelier now. I mean, look at Veronique in Ottawa, in Gatineau. She finished the second best in the world. I mean, it's just like, and we have Elise in Montreal, we have Master Sommelier in Toronto, and I mean, more and more ladies, because they have many taste buds, and also maybe they focus more than us, I don't know, but they have a memory. I mean, the greatest sommelier has to have deep memories, and I think in my head I don't have enough room for all those things.
I watched a program on sommeliers just in the last couple of years, and the one gentleman has got a photographic memory, and he's on the board of what you have to pass to be a master sommelier at that level, and going through, just listening to the students studying for their exams and the whole thing, people. I thought, well, how does this guy remember all of this stuff? And you say the memory, and then he came out and said, well, I have a photographic memory, so for me it's very easy. And I thought, okay, well, there's your advantage, because if he can just compartmentalize all of those things, it's not like us where we have to go and literally taste everything and put it into a box. and have to study it and study it and study it, which I think is fun. I mean, for me, I love wine, and I love tasting, I love pairing, but I'm not so serious about it that I would make it my life's mission. I just like it because in the same way I have a love for food, I love learning. It's more about learning for me.
And that's perfect. And, you know, and to go back to your thing, yes, not enough chefs are sommelier, that's for sure. But I mean, we don't have to be sommelier as long as they understand they are, as you, interesting in tasting and wine. I mean, you know, I mean, and I always say, I mean, to the people, I mean, if the wine is good for you, that's perfect. I mean, don't worry.
Right.
Don't have to. If you like the wine, then you like the wine. I mean, that's just like.
Right.
But we, as I say, we have to be careful because, I mean, again, I'm not going to put some name, but sometimes some cuisine are very difficult to pair, and they will sell you a very expensive bottle of wine, and it's going to be gone. Like as soon as you taste the food, it's going to be gone.
Right.
So we have to be very careful of that. But I love the experience. That's why I love the open kitchen. I mean, you know, at EC we have the license also bring your own wine. You know, so people will bring some great wine, and they will give me a little few ounces to test, and just that to share the wine, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's just like it's and that's what we should do. Like the chef, we should treat our restaurant the way where we do it at home with our friends. You know, share and talk and experience new things, and you know, and
that's why those of us who've been in it for a long time are still in it, is because of the love behind it, and the the learning and the meeting new people and the hospitality and the service. It's why we're in it, and it's why we continue to do it, because we love that experience. And that's and in restaurants that practice that, you can taste it. You can tell it in the atmosphere. You can tell it in the staff, all of that. And moving forward in our industry, I think that those are the restaurants in organizations that will stay. They'll stay the course, and people and their people will come back and support them regardless of where they are.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, as you say, I mean, everybody in every culture and every restaurant, they have to be proud of what they are doing.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I go to the supermarket and I love a small one like a Fiesta in Toronto. There is only one. It's family run. And one day, this guy came from a Chinese guy, and he was giving sample of his dim sum, and they were fantastic. And that's the way to do. And I keep buying his dim sum all the time, even if he's not there anymore. But you know, they are so well done, so perfectly, so tasty. And I say, you know, but that's the way. And I keep, like in Toronto, we are going to open as soon as we can open. And I told them, I said, we have to do an open house. I want everybody in the area where we are, come to meet us and come to taste our food. And we'll do a little cocktail for them. Like, what is a big deal to give few sandwiches or give few cookies and a cocktail or whatever? Like, it will take the restaurant so far if they do that. You know, we talk about amuse. I mean, I always give amuse. As soon as the people order, as soon as the waiters, they send amuse on the table.
Right.
And I say, what's the big deal? Why people, they don't do that? Like, there's few people who do it. I mean, and I say, not only is giving us some time in the kitchen to prepare the appetizer, but now they have water on the table. Now they are waiting for their cocktail or their wine. Now we give them amuse, so they have a little bit of food, and they can start the discussion and start like they can be, and it's something free, you know, and it's, you know, and so it's all those small things who make the restaurant better. Service.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love hearing you say that, because it's what I preach.
Yeah. That's, I mean, for me, like I DC, I swear I had this hostess for a long time. Her name was Rosalie. She was fantastic. And I don't know what she did, but every customer, as soon as they entered the restaurant, and I could see, because I was an open kitchen. So they start to laugh or they start to smile. I don't know what she said, but all the time she makes them happy.
Wonderful.
And that's the first things when you enter the restaurant.
Yeah.
If you have somebody hostess who even doesn't look at you, stay on the phone, ask the first question, do you have a reservation or whatever? Like, it's like, okay, well, okay, you don't care too much about me right now.
No, I've worked in many restaurants where, and I've put it into my own thing where the general manager is responsible for the hosts.
Absolutely.
Period. He's responsible for
Absolutely.
training them.
Absolutely. I agree.
And any mistakes that they make, anything that they're not knowledgeable about, that falls on the general manager. Period.
I agree.
That is his responsibility, not the kitchen, not the service staff, not those hosts. Above all, are the GM's responsibility for that reason.
Completely. I completely agree with you. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
And I've always felt that was the smartest thing to do as far as training. And hosts that want to move on to servers, they're in an excellent position to do that if they've been trained well by the GM, and they become excellent servers because they understand the managing of the customer and understand the hospitality involved.
Right. Yeah.
I think that evolution is certainly key in doing that. So
yeah. Well, in those difficult times, again, the best are going to survive, and yes, we have to adjust. But if we don't care about our guests,
yeah.
If we think that they are just numbers and cash machine, that's not working.
Those are the ones that are going to those ships are the ones going to be sunk.
Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you again, my friend.
Anytime, please. It's great. Thanks a lot for you.
It's a great honor for me to have you on. And thank you.
It's a great. I really thank you for you to give me the opportunity to talk and to exchange things, because we rarely have time to do that. And for me at my stage now, I have to give. I have to give. I want to give to the students. I want to give to people who work with me as much as I can. Take whatever you want from me.
That's why we have this show, is because we want the opportunity to share what we know, to bring people on, to share, and as a community to educate and inspire and inform and overcome what challenges we might be having. And the only way we can do that is to have dialogue like this. So how wonderful. Thank you so much. My chef today has been Chef Jean-Pierre Challet, and it's been an absolute honor. If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, LinkedIn, around the world, please feel free to make comments. We'll come back and answer them. If you're not watching this live and you're watching it after the fact, we do watch it over the next several days. And I'd love to come back and answer any questions that you might have or forward those to the chef. Thank you. Be well, my friend.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.